All right, everybody, we are back here with another guest on the Sota Pod, and our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, she does it all. Hockey mom, veteran, Gophers hockey and Bruins fan, CEO of her own social media platform, craft beer lover, YouTuber, former nurse, and OnlyFans star. Allie Rae, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. So good. I'm so happy to be here. I'm like obsessed with this. We're going to talk hockey and beer, and that's like my favorite thing. So very, very cool.
It's awesome. And like right before we started recording, we all collectively were like, how have we not connected before, given, both all of our hockey fandom and being craft beer creators as well. And like, we'll get into everything you do here in a moment, but yeah, super excited to have you on the show. High level here. Where did your hockey fandom, come from? Let's start with that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Texas, so we had the Houston Arrows, which was pretty popular. I went to a couple games with my dad, but I was super young, so I didn't know a lot about hockey. But when I went into the Navy, my first duty station was in Minnesota, which is random as hell, like to consider the Navy in Minnesota. But I met my husband there, and he played hockey through high school, and he loved it. And then, of course, we got married, had kids, and then our boys started playing hockey. And so it's kind of hard not to. I mean, if you don't love hockey in Minnesota, you're going to be quite miserable because it's the topic of everything. And so I fell in love with it. I loved the aggression of it. I loved the fast pacedness of it. I loved watching my boys play. It was just amazing. And so, that's where really my love fell in college hockey in particular with the Gophers, because college hockey is just that passion and there's so much excitement. And I just feel like to me, it's a different vibe. Love professional hockey too, but college hockey is just a different level of that. So it was really something that just kind of grew on me. And, then of course we moved to Boston, and you can't live in Boston and not love hockey as well. So it was just like, it's been immersed since I've been 17 when I moved to Minnesota, and it's 100% my favorite sport. That's for sure.
And I mean, to your point, right? It's just a totally different beast with college hockey in Minnesota, because you get the idiots that come out of the woodwork every year when we post stuff about the state hockey tournament, and they say, oh, Minnesota's the state of hockey. How many Stanley Cups do they have? It's like, you're totally missing the point here.
Oh,
and you really see that come through with now the 6 D1 teams, and you see all of the Minnesota players that not only fill those squads, but all over the country.
Yeah, you sell out NHL arenas for state of high school hockey tournament. I mean, that's freaking impressive. It's crazy. I try to describe to people, it's like the football of Texas is hockey is like of Minnesota. And yeah. I don't know, I feel like it's even more ingrained in the blood in hockey, like in Minnesota. It's just, it's everything in Minnesota. So it's wonderful though.
It definitely blurs the line between culture and cult, but
right. A little bit. Yeah. And it's crazy. Minnesota has their own unique way of hockey. We've lived a lot of places, and even living in Boston, like it's a whole different hockey game over there. I just love the way Minnesota has things laid out, especially at the youth level, high school and such. It's just super cool. And it's not like that other places. There's different rules. There's things are just a little bit different. They don't do it by city. And I don't know. We always had a really hard time with that when our boys would play, in other states. That really was like, oh, Minnesota just does it right.
Did they play in Minnesota?
What's that?
Did they play in Minnesota at all?
Yeah, all 3 of my boys played. I have a goalie and I have 2 skaters. We moved away when they were 15, but they played for Blaine. My oldest played AA. My goalie played A. I think AA 1 year as well too. Yeah, so they loved it, and our youngest has been skating. They've all been on the ice since they were 2. So now we even have hockey here in Tampa. It's very different. It's not the same like lifestyle, but it is certainly. I mean, it's a part of them, so they didn't want to give it up.
You said it there, highlighting that Minnesota just does hockey differently. Like I come from Canada, where like hockey is our NFL up there. I tell this to like right. all of our sports fan guests too. Like you see 90% or 80%, NFL content on your sports center. We see 80% hockey. Like that's just the flip in Canada. But moving to Minnesota here this year, it's its own unique thing, and it's so special. And I went to my first state high school hockey tournament this year, and it was incredible. And like I'm a huge World Junior guy, I'm a huge Memorial Cup guy, CHL hockey up in Canada. This is something special, and like it's on par, or I mean, it is more unique than those because it's a whole different thing. But it has that special magic to it, and like it's almost undescribable. Like you just have to be there to really like get it.
Yeah, and you kind of become like a hockey snob if like you move away. Well, obviously not for you for Canada, because you're like mecca of it. But like living in other places, like especially down here, you're kind of like, it's hard not to be like a snob about it. Like that's not what we do, but okay. Like the celebrating after 9 goals in youth hockey, you know, the other two, you're like, no, it's just not etiquette. Like I think that etiquette is a big deal that in other states, like they are just like the discipline is not there. So it's just different, but it is hard. You're like, all right, just calm down. We're in Florida, but it definitely is so different.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we'll get into Gopher talk now then, but first make the rounds quick. What's everyone drinking? We'll start with you, Allie.
So I'm drinking actually one of my favorite beers ever. This is by Florida Avenue Brewing. They're here out of Tampa, and this is called Luminescence. It's a hazy IPA. It is my absolute favorite hazy. I have top 4 that like rotate each other. Depends on my mood, but this one I really love. 7% ABV. I don't know the IBUs on this one, but it is incredibly good. It's very juicy. This brewery is just really cool. They make a crap ton. And so I love a lot of their beers. It's not just this one. So that's on my lineup. And then I have a Shell's for later because, of course, I had to have a Minnesota beer. And Shell's sent me an amazing package. I have not tried this one. Maybe you guys have. It's called Fresh Prince IPA.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. I love the can.
I don't think I've had this one. So I'm excited. They sent me a whole nice package. But yeah, I love Ben Paddle too. I love and Surly Brewing, my favorite. Like I just love so many Minnesota beers, but I can't get very many of them down here. So it's kind of, they have to send them for me to drink them.
There you go. Like how Minnesota does hockey, they do craft beer incredibly as well. Hoppy, what do you have on tap?
So I kind of spun the other direction and went with kind of playing off of the interview we dropped on Monday for everyone with Joe Smith, kind of doing the preview of how to enjoy Tampa with hockey.
Nice.
We've got the High Alive from Cigar City.
Yeah.
Had to go that route. Very popular brewery and beer. Like this is the only one that I know you can pretty much get across the country.
Yeah.
It's not my style personally. Like I definitely like it. It's a good beer, but I'm more like the hazy New England IPA where this is a little bit more like kind of got the malty characteristic to it, but it's too overpowering, right? I like it. But Allie, I mean, you talk a little bit here just about Cigar City Brewing.
Cigar City Brewing, they have been around for a very long time here. They were actually bought out. They're not AB owned. They were bought out in 2016, I think, by Oscar Blues, and then they sold on to someone else. But I will say, I heard from a little bird, I won't give the details on that. They have their hands in a lot of the craft brewery scene here in Tampa. So you still get a lot of that old school, like Cigar City vibe that people loved before they were bought out, which their stuff is still great. I mean, everything. High Life is on every tap here. That's just to me like a very traditional IPA, but you're right. Very malty, very orangey. It's just a little bit different. It's definitely not a New England or hazy. But Cigar City has a huge presence here and they are very well respected, even despite, not being technically craft anymore, I should say. But they are, they make great. They make a High Low, which is a session IPA, which I actually like better. You might like that. It's a little lighter. And that one's really, really good too. They make a lot of good stuff. Florida Man, they make one called Florida Man that is.
I'm excited for that one.
That's a double IPA. That is so good. And it drinks so easy. Like it's really good.
And the name is just too good. We actually, our only tie to Florida here is the maniac Brandon Duham. And we, didn't last very long because we just got sidetracked. But for a while, we tried to come up with a new Florida Man story every week that could reasonably be Brandon Duham. So,
yeah, the Florida Man stuff. Oh, it's crazy. Like it's funny. It's more of the Panhandle. I've never ran into a true Florida Man here in Tampa, but I will say you go up to the Panhandle, you're gonna meet some Florida men. It's definitely a different vibe up there. In Tampa, we're more metro cool,
There you go. So I'm drinking a Drecker Brewing lactose double IPA, and I wanted to bring a Drecker on the show because the only other Minnesota beer review on your beer channel, which we'll get into here in a moment, Allie, was on Drecker. I mentioned Bent Paddle is where I first saw your content, and I know Drecker's not in Minnesota, but it's lumped into like the Minnesota beer scene here. This one's called Thor is My Co-Pilot, lactose double IPA. It's super fruity, super juicy. Like you would not you would not guess it's a double IPA. You'd not guess that it's pushing 9% because of like how easy this thing drinks. But like, it is a juice bomb. It is thick. I'm more of a West Coast IPA guy. I like the pininess to it. That's not to say I don't enjoy a juice bomb as well. I'm just a little less picky than my co-host here. But but no, this is awesome. So cheers all around, everybody. Cheers. Thanks for jumping on again, Allie. And again, this is just so cool that you're like as much, maybe even more of a craft beer junkie than we are.
Yeah. So good. Drecker makes one called Brains. And that was like the first, I think, negative review I did. And I felt bad, but I could not get past the fact that they made it literally the color of freaking brains. I was like, why would you do that? And I'm like, stop it. I'm like, now I can't freaking drink this because all I'm thinking about is brains. So I remember doing that review and I'm like, look, I'm keeping my channel honest, but I wish I could go back now, like not just maybe close my eyes, because I bet you the flavor was amazing because it was like blackberry. I think it might have been a sour, but yeah, it's a popular one by Drecker.
So what was the brains that we had recently, Hoppy? It was really good, but like you can't even really call it a sour or a beer. It's its own thing. Like it is alcohol in a smoothie.
It was monkey tail because it was like the chocolate banana peanut butter or something. And oh my God.
It was so good.
Wow. Yeah, see, y'all got the cold weather for that. I feel like I can't have those thick ones down here in the heat.
That is
honest. That makes sense. That makes sense. in the last days of fall, I think it came out here when it started to get a little crisp and cool. So it kind of fit, but it literally tasted like a milkshake. Just it had alcohol in it. So yeah, Drecker does things a little different.
Yeah, that's cool though. That's like
we give him props.
Awesome. I love that. I love when breweries stretch limits, and sometimes you try and you're like, that didn't really work for me, but it's cool, right? Like that's the fun thing about craft beer is getting to try something that someone else hasn't done, And so that's the exciting part, I think.
Yes, it's very exciting that it can literally expire and like poisonous expire, not just beer expire on the shelf. But shout out to Drecker. All right, let's get back to hockey talk. You two are the big Gophers fans. I'm new to college hockey fandom, but we talked about how special high school hockey is in Minnesota. College hockey, and in particular, the Golden freaking Gophers are something special as well. So Hoppy, take it away. Let's get into some Gophers talk.
Well, Isha discounts himself too, because coming to Minnesota when he moved, he very much said, like, I'm from Canada. I'll cheer for the Beavers. I'll be a Bemidji fan. I'm like, yeah, that's so typical. But I took him to the game at Mariucci this year where North Dakota was in town. And it took all of like 15 minutes for him to look at me and be like, not only am I a Gopher fan, I'm even more convinced that I just hate North Dakota.
Oh, it's the worst. I used to not even bring my young kids there. My husband would be like, we're going to go again. I'm like, to North Dakota? I'm like, don't take the boys there. They're
it's crazy.
They're absolutely crazy. And yeah, like that's how you knew you were in the zone with us, because you could see the crazy in North Dakota.
Oh, they were right in front of us swearing at us. And we were just talking about the plays, and they're like, can you shut the fuck up? We're like, oh, damn.
They're nuts. They're fucking psycho. And yeah, I can't stand North Dakota.
You know what?
I love it.
I can't stand them at the same time as I so much appreciate that they exist, because that rivalry, like I wouldn't want anything different. Like Gage Osmus, who does content for our friends at 10K Takes, former captain for North Dakota, he like, the second that the Gophers posted that tweet saying like, so great that Fargo could host this, North Dakota, so gracious as hosts. And we know they had a lot of time on their hands, whatever. And like, fans are like, oh, classless, typical Gophers, whatever. He retweeted. He's like, this is exactly what I want. Like, if it was tables turned, I would want us to do the exact same thing. That's what makes this rivalry great. Like, the hate runs so thick, and that's what makes it so fun.
Oh yeah, I retweeted that one too. That was good. I was like, damn, that was like actually tweeted. That was pretty sick. I loved it. Yeah, no, it's true. It's such a rivalry, and it's really like, it keeps, like you said, it just that whole that. I think what bothers me too is all like, there's a lot of Minnesotans up there. Like it's kind of like the Packer Viking thing, right? Like you have people who are Packer fans that are literally live in Minnesota. I'm like, why? Like, what are you doing? And you have the same thing up there, and it's super annoying.
Well, I mean, the answer is easy. North Dakota and Wisconsin are insufferable places to live.
Right.
They come from there. They've grown up in that culture, and they're like, well, no, we want to live somewhere that doesn't suck. And that's why we're invaded by our border enemies.
I know. It's such an issue up there. Like, I always wonder, I'm like, you don't really feel that with like Florida and like neighboring. You're like, it's so interesting that it's like a legit thing up there. Like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the Badgers too. That's another problem.
Well, it's going to become a bigger problem now that they got Mike Hastings.
Yeah.
That scares me.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But so
yeah.
to the Gopher fandom, I know like you regularly try and get out to some of the games each year. I know this year you went to Notre Dame, but like, is that something like, do you pick like 1 or 2 games every year, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, we do. We pick it usually 1 or 2 games. It's usually in the January. The year prior we went to Ohio. So we've gone, we try to see them on the road at least once, but if we can do more, even better. But we definitely want to always see them on the road, and we go. And now this was so cool that the Frozen Four just happens to be in Tampa, and we live here now. And I'm like, it's just meant to be. Like, I feel like I'm like, there's no way this is not going to happen. So the minute they won and we knew they were advancing, we bought like 20 tickets on the. I was like, all I know is I want to be behind the bench. So we had to buy all of them just to ensure that we could be behind the bench. So I don't know where I'm going to be seeing yet. I might hop from like BU's bench to Gophers. We'll see how it is. But yeah, we're super excited about that. I love it. I like to be here in Tampa is just like, if they actually win that shit here, I'm going to like blow up. It's going to be amazing.
So cool. And I mean, let's get into it though. Fargo Regional, how nervous were you both in the early parts of the Canisius game and throughout the St. Cloud game? Like, when did you settle in and be like, okay, I think this is going to be okay? Well,
I feel like I never lose faith in the Gophers. It's like, okay, you know how like the Vikings always let us down, and I always feel like, you know how like the Yankees, they always pull something off or something. You're like, some crazy thing happens. I'm like, that happens for the Gophers all the time, and I'm like, it could be 1 minute left. I'm like, we still got it. We got it. We're good. We're good. Like, I never lose faith in them, and so sometimes, parts of me are like, well, I at least want to see like a Minnesota team there then if it wasn't going to be us, but then I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, it's us. This is our year. And so I never lost faith. I actually felt really good this whole year. I mean, in that line, with Snuggerud, Cooley, Nyes, like, it's just unreal. Like, it's arguably the best line in college hockey if it is, and to me, I just feel like it's our year. And I'm so excited that, that would be really cool for Nyes, especially going out on this and then making his way up to my enemies, but I still will support him there. I still will be happy to see him do well there. But yeah, it's going to be hard. Being a Bruins fan, it's going to be hard to have him up there.
Yes,
I hate Toronto so much.
I know.
Isha agrees. But
Allie, I say this to everyone who is in our corner. Like, I hate Toronto more than I love my mother. Like, I cannot stand that team at all. And it's because I'm from Western Canada, and my whole life we just get Toronto sports shoved down our throats. It's just like we would like to know. I would like to know what like the random lacrosse team or curling team in Northern Saskatchewan is doing over the fucking Blue Jays and the Argonauts and the Maple Leafs, please. So
right.
Yeah, my hate runs deep.
I know, and I'm going to see him a lot, and it is what it is. It's like, it's hard though, because I usually try to, like follow all the Gophers, where they go, and kind of want them to do genuinely well. And especially Nyes, he's doing great things for the Gophers. But yeah, I mean, good for him, but yeah, shitty team.
I love it.
Agreed.
You fit right in on this podcast. My goodness.
I will say though, you've clearly been away from Minnesota for too long, because you're right. Like, you nailed it with the Vikings, with the Twins. I'm never comfortable. Like, finally, Gophers went up 3-1 against St. Cloud, and that's when I was like finally able to take a breath. But up until then, I'm just convinced, I'm conditioned to believe that what can go wrong will.
And he does in all of sports, except for the Gophers. The Gophers are our team. Like, I just feel like they have the magic. But yeah, it is hard to be a Minnesota fan. And I'm the only team I'm not I'm a Bruins fan, but I love the Vikings, love the Twins. I'm not a massive fan of baseball. It's not like my favorite sport. I think it just lacks that energy for me, but I still love, that's my team. But yeah, it's pretty easy to be a Gopher fan. I feel like everyone falls in love. We've even got like some friends here we met. They're huge Bruin fans, and they don't get involved in college hockey very much. And they're completely converted. They're completely Gopher fans. We bought them tickets. We're like, you're going. Like, you love the Gophers now. And they're like, okay, yes.
That's awesome. And yeah, it says everything that like I posted after the Twins went 2-0. I'm like, the Twins are now on pace to go completely undefeated this season and then get swept by the Yankees in the first round. And everyone agreed. Like, no one, like, there was no contention. They're like, yes, this is our fate.
It's always a fun ride, and then it's like, okay, that was fun.
This is why we don't care. Got it. But so let's talk then about Tampa, right? Obviously backyard for you, but like you already mentioned it, you got like 20 tickets spanning the benches. You were pretty vocal as soon as the game was over. Hey, let me know if you're actually serious about coming. We got tickets. Like, who's in? Like, how did that develop? Like, is that something that you've been planning for a while, or did you just like decide on the spot, like, this would be fun?
Yeah, well, a couple weeks ago, whenever I really started to like see the, like, okay, this is Tampa's coming up, whatever. I wanted to be packed with maroon and gold, and so I was like, I always knew that for my family, my father-in-law, my mother, my sons, their girlfriends, I always knew we were going to be getting at least 10 to 12 tickets for that. But then I was like, I really wanted to buy tickets for like my community. Because I have so many Gopher fans in my community, like a lot. And so I knew that, if they were able to actually get here. So we decided a while ago, and I had made a promise and said, if we make it to Tampa, I'm buying tickets. I didn't know how many I was going to get. I ended up buying 3 extra sets plus a single seat because it was an accident. Don't ask. I had a few beers. So I ended up having more sets, and I had people message me, and I just wanted to be like, I wanted to be Gopher fans to be able to go because it's really cool. And I think, like we talked about in the beginning, like hockey is everything in Minnesota. This is a bigger deal than like probably, the Wild winning this. I mean, this is a big deal for Minnesotans. And so I wanted to help with that and be a part of that. And so, yeah, we got people scattered all over. We got tickets everywhere. It's really cool. It's going to be nice.
That is awesome. And I mean, let's tie it in with the, entrepreneurial OnlyFans angle. Like we see every like couple of weeks, there's some new video of someone that's sitting behind an NHL bench, like purely to distract people, right? Like, is there some kind of angle there? Like, what's the plan here for BU Gophers?
Oh, there's some strategy there. Yeah. I go to a lot of games a lot, and I usually am on the glass, not always behind the bench because it's hard to get with NHL because they're already taken or what have you. Not necessarily available, but yeah, certainly there's strategy there. I know people in the industry with media and outlets, so I'm sure there'll be something. But yeah, I'm afraid to distract the Gophers. Like I don't want to screw up their game. I'd almost want to on the BU side and just like be like, just like fuck you. But I don't know. We'll see how I feel. It depends how many highlights I have. Because the last time I had too many highlights at a game, I broke my jaw. So that was an issue. But
what's the story there?
There's a story there. There has to be.
Yeah, I was at a Bruins Lightning game, and we're just like 5 up. We're killing it. We met friends. We're heading to the bar, so we're like, hell, let's just take the scooters to the bar. I'm like, yeah, 7 highlights in. I get on the scooter. I don't know what possessed me. I just thought I could hop a curb and actually face planted. Broke my jaw. Of course, the influencer me is live streaming it. I'm like, look at this shit. And then I'm getting like banned because I have blood and gore on my face.
Oh my goodness.
Like, wait, first she has like sexual content. Now she has blood and gore. So it was
YouTube just hates you.
Yeah, they really weren't a fan of me on Twitter or Instagram. But so I ended up shattering my jaw.
Oh my God.
Like 9 teeth. This was like in November. But it is what it is. So yeah, I probably won't. I don't ride scooters drunk anymore.
Well, so we did something similar. We were like basically brewery hopping in Minneapolis. It was my wife and I and like 2 other couples we're really good friends with. And she had that exact same moment, just didn't break her jaw. Like she's going to hear this and be like, okay, I guess it could have been worse. But like we're all riding along and like for whatever reason, her and one of my buddies were straggling behind. And all of a sudden she sees a cop car and panics and like sees the curb there. And she's like, all right, I can jump this. I can go around and like not have to go past the cop because she was like inexplicably worried that because she was drinking a little bit and scootering that could be a problem. Like, how
I think you can get a DUI. I really do.
Right. But she wasn't like that drunk. She was more just like, it's same thing when you see a cop in the rearview mirror, right? You're just like, for a second, you're like, oh shit. Like, am I okay? Did I do anything wrong? Do I need to worry? And she had that panic moment and tried to jump the curb and just tabletop over the top of it, right into the road. Man, it's
nightmare. With a jaw, healed. What is what it is. The scar's actually wonderful. It was all the teeth that I broke. Like I felt like a hockey player. I was like, I'm missing teeth after a hockey game. This is kind of epic. But no, it was a problem, and it's still a problem. So I definitely have to be careful with that. But after the Gopher game, if we went, I don't know. I mean, I might hop on a scooter. I might have to do it.
Tell you what, scooter parade if the Gophers win.
There you go.
Right.
That takes me to the next point then. Like, what do you have planned? Like, is there anything in the works for like where Gopher fans are talking about meeting up for pregame, for postgame, whatever?
Yeah, well, I wanted to do, I've been reaching out to some people. I want to do a lot of podcasting. I want to help with that. It's hard being OnlyFans. You know, I think there's a little bit, it is difficult sometimes to some people. It's not the hosts themselves, but they obviously have people they answer to, and that can't bring necessarily a girl on that does that. And I get that. So I don't really know. I know I'm going to have like, it's going to be, you know, my whole family's going to, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Afterwards, I think what's going to happen is family's going to go home. My husband and I, and maybe our older adult children are going to go out and just like find Gopher fans and rally people together and go bar hopping and scooter riding and have a good time. Because I have faith that we have tickets for both games. Like we bought them for both. So I'm like,
I got both. I'm ready to go.
Otherwise, we might be online like, okay, we got tickets if you want to see whoever it is that made it. We might be giving those away or selling those because we do have like a lot of tickets for both games, which is going to be crazy. But I know we're going to be there. I actually think it might be a Minnesota-Michigan game. And I actually think for fan-wise, that would be amazing. I mean, it'd be a harder thing for us, but I think it would be really cool.
Hoppy's on the same page.
Championship that everyone deserves. It really is.
Yeah. That would be a pretty epic game. It'd be very close, very good.
Yes. And any like conflict for you then with the Boston ties going up against Minnesota? Like, is there any like lingering, like, I feel bad that I'm cheering against Boston?
No, not at all. Cause I've never been a Boston like college fan. Only thing in Boston, I don't even like the Pats. Like only team I've always gone for is the Bruins. So it doesn't even affect me. Now, you know, if the Wild are doing amazing and then there could be a matchup there down the road, but I don't know. That would be hard. My husband and I talk about that all the time. I'm like, let's not have a domestic. Let's not.
Well, I mean, it's like, obviously it's like your team's losing if the Minnesota Wild somehow beat them, right? But it's like, after that, it's like, you can kind of put that aside and be like, well, at least can follow my second favorite team. It's not the worst thing.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. That would be the only thing that would be a little weird. But otherwise, yeah, I don't care about them guys.
Love it.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more beer here. Like I said, you know your craft beer. What caused you to become a craft beer lover? How'd you fall in love with craft beer?
So actually fell in love with craft beer in Minnesota. And I think it started with a lot of Surly's beers early on. And it's kind of interesting how that came about because during the pandemic, you know, fast forward, I've always loved craft beer during that time, but around the pandemic, I had created an Instagram and I was just reviewing craft beers, just kind of like me and a camera phone, like nothing major. And it was people from there that were like, you should start an OnlyFans. And I was like, what the fuck is that? You know, I just ignored that. I mean, probably for a year and a half, people said you should start OnlyFans. And so of course, you know, I ended up
doing that. Started, during pandemic. Okay.
Yeah, I did start in the pandemic. And I think that was a lot because you know, we were in Boston and everything was locked down. You couldn't do anything. It was like you sat at home, you had craft beer, you know, were on social media more. And so I ended up, you know, at some point starting an OnlyFans and it took off like astronomically. It was unbelievable. But, you know, once I kind of everything settled down, it was really cool for me to start Tap That, my show, because it was kind of full circle, right? Because it's kind of how I started on social media. And then, of course, that morphed into something that really blanketed that where people didn't know that about me anymore. All they knew about is I was the nurse that lost her job and, you know, made a killing on OnlyFans. But the craft beer is like, now I got to do it like big time. I got to do it how I wanted it. We hired a team, we hired a videographer, editors and everything. And I was like, this is so cool, you know, and even next season, we're going to be traveling more instead of just having, you know, beer come to us and stuff like that. We're actually going to go to more breweries and stuff across the country. It's going to be really cool. So it was full circle for me. And so craft beer has always been something I've loved. It's just, I never had the opportunity to make it into more of like a show that I have to now, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we'll
ahead,
have
Hoppy.
to like either if you come out to Minnesota, we'll take you on the tour. We've got a lot of breweries that we're tight with, or I sent beer to Isha when he was on Vancouver Island. And that was just a whole ordeal. Me sending you beer in Florida, once I get stuff from them, like that's a lot more reasonable. So we'll figure something out regardless to help promote some of our good friends out here. But
yeah, definitely. Because the whole channel is about promoting craft beer. Every now and then I'll do some that I know are AB owned and I don't realize it till I'm there. I'm like, oh, damn. I don't really want to give a lot of attention to the big timers, because that's not what the channel's about. But there's some that just deserve it. They're just good beer, and I that happens sometimes. And people send it to me and what have you. But certainly I love featuring small craft beer that people don't know about. I think it's really cool.
So where's the place that you want to go most? Like, what's on your bucket list of like, I want to go here and try all the breweries?
Asheville, North Carolina. So definitely want to.
Everybody says that. Everybody says that.
It's Asheville or Portland, not Oregon, but Maine.
Yeah, that area too. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest. We spent some time in Boise for a little bit, and obviously got familiar with a lot of those Pacific Northwest beers, and that was really cool. But Asheville, North Carolina, just keeps coming up. Everyone talks about it, and how it's just a great scene for that. And so we definitely want to get there, and it's so close for us. I mean, we totally could. We just haven't put it into action, but 100%. I mean, and even Sierra Nevada, not necessarily. I think there's technically still craft. It's very big craft. They have a massive facility out there that I just want to check out, period, because the best facility I've come across is Surly. Surly's awesome. I mean, it's huge. It's got all the yard games and the upper and lower levels. But yeah, it's pretty built up in Asheville. I will say, went to Austin, was not impressed with the beer scene in Austin. Like, I actually went to probably 12 to 15 breweries there, and I didn't care for maybe one or two. It was kind of weird.
Have you done Treehouse?
No, I haven't done Treehouse, but I've had, well, I think I've had Treehouse for sure, but I haven't gone to their brewery or anything. No.
Fair. We've got a guy that from Boston, very, very Boston, and he covers Minnesota Wild prospects for us on one of our shows, and he like only drinks Bud Light. Like, he's pretty just like keep it simple, like go to a dive bar, go to the Drop and have some cheap beers.
Right.
And even he's like, dude, Treehouse is different.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard wonderful things about Treehouse. I've been to quite a few breweries in Rhode Island, when we lived up there. I like a lot of places up there. And then I just was on a radio show and they were recommending some, so I have to look at my list. But there's just so many. I don't know. It's like craft beers is you can never get old with it because they're always doing something new or unique or trying something new. And I don't know. It's like the fun of it for me. I think it's probably what wine tasters go through, right? Like, when they're trying different wines and things like that. Craft beer is just, and I'm big into the artwork. Like, I like to look at the cans. I like to oh, this is pretty sick. I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun there too. So
no, I'm totally on that train as well, which is why like Drecker always does like unbelievable stuff. Here are friends at Lupulin. This is actually their THC seltzer, but you can see how crazy their can art is as well.
Well, if they have any left too, we'll have to get you one of our Journey flows from Lupulin, which actually they did not design. My wife did. Nice.
Yeah, I think that's the other cool thing about it's like so small business because you have like the craft beer in itself is an art. And then they're actually getting like actual artists to design the labels and the cans. And then they're getting to promote themselves on there. So it's just really cool. I love it. I love it.
So actually this connects actually pretty good given our guest here. The can artist at Lupulin, who actually is like, that is his job. They don't commission like different artists. Like his job is their designer.
Right.
He has a fun game where he actually hides penises and vaginas in certain can arts and on certain cans. And it's like, it's fun for, well, the beer drinkers who now know that little tidbit and some of the employees to find them. And there may or may not be one hidden on our beer can over there as well.
So that's
cool.
Actually,
we'll after this, we'll send you the link to, because we did a podcast with them recently for them promoting their big beer week that just happened last month, where they have a whole week, 8 days of beers like above 10%, barrel-aged stuff, IPAs that just drop like every day throughout that event that they do. And so we did some content with them promoting that, and him telling that story. We got some video content out of it as well. Sitting right in front of a huge mural of one of the can art pieces, which with just a fat fucking penis on this guy's tattooed on this guy's arm. So yeah, we'll send you that because I think you'll get a kick out of it for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually, I love that. That's like a where's Waldo? Where's the penis?
Well, the thing, Hoppy actually suggested, well, like, we should commission, like a fun adult content book, which is actually Where's Dildo, and have that in all this beautiful can art and just have one, subtly hidden there. I think I think we can actually find a market for that.
I think we could. I think that's actually funny. That's like, you know, how they have the adult coloring books, you know? It's
yes.
like the Where's Waldo, but for adults. Where's the dildo?
and part of the branding would be adult coloring book, because it's already kind of like, that's kind of a meme now, because it's just like hipster adults literally coloring, you know, stoned. This would be like, it's an adult coloring book, but a different type of adult coloring book.
I love it. That's freaking great. That's cool. I love it.
Well, continuing on the adult train, like you mentioned, right? People are all of a sudden like, oh, you should just start an OnlyFans. And you're like, what is this? And like, I'm kind of on the same page right now. Like, I'm very aware of OnlyFans. I get the idea of it, but I've never engaged. So like, how would you characterize or explain to people like what OnlyFans is?
Well, I think what's really awesome about it is that you really can make it whatever you want. So most people know of it. That's where, you know, people are dropping porn and stuff of that nature. People can make whatever they want of it. I mean, honestly, it could be a fan club for beer if you really wanted, whatever you feel like you could charge subscribers for to see your content. Kind of works like a Patreon, but most commonly it's used for creators to be able to post more explicit content that you can't post like on Instagram and things like that. So for us, when it first started, you know, we're huge chivers too. We love the chive community, and that was a big part of our growth.
Back to the chive. Let's go.
I just went to headquarters a couple months ago. Oh my God. Like I'm obsessed with everyone there. I love that place. But I got really involved in the chive, and they have like their chivettes and things like that. And so that was a big portion of the community that was telling us to start it. And we started posting, you know, I was posting just topless stuff and I think it just kind of escalated. But honestly, I posted like maybe 5 things. And then I was like, this is weird. Like nobody's going to pay for this shit, you know? And I think I put the phone away, if I remember correctly. 2 weeks later, I think my husband was like, you should log back in and see what happened with that OnlyFans. I was like, oh yeah. So I'm logging back in. There's like freaking $8,000. I'm like, oh, okay.
Damn.
I was like, all right, well, honey, we need to look at this. I was like, this might be something we want to pay attention to, because that was with no effort. We were kind of like blown a freaking way. And so I think it kind of gravitated to where it is. And then, you know, people would say, do you have any videos of you and your husband? And we'd look at each other. I'm like, well, yeah, but no, we're not showing anybody that. You know, like, that's like a 45-second thing, like on your phone. Like, what would we do with that? And I think we started just sending it to people, and then people wanted more. And then so it's kind of what you make of it. And now it's like, I think from the beginning, I always said, like, I don't categorize myself as a porn star. I'm not sleeping with other people. I'm basically giving a peek into my private sexual life. And so it's like tripod in the corner, whatever's happening is literally what was already going to happen. And so it became very like easy to make content, because it was like, take it or leave it. You're going to love it. Some people are going to probably bitch like, oh, I don't like the lighting. I'm like, whatever, but it's not big production. It's just my life. And so that's what we did. And then of course it took off. And then, you know, we never really thought about it getting this big, you know, with Barstool and stuff picking it up and all this stuff that happened. And people at my work, I was an ICU nurse, found out what I was doing. And I was devastated. Obviously, this was like our private secret, you know. I was like, what are we doing? Like, I'm a fucking hockey mom. Like, what am I doing? Because trust me, I ask myself all the time, like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Like, I'm literally posting nudes online. But it just became such a natural thing. It was kind of fun, right? It was kind of liberating. And, you know, they found out and I ended up losing my job. That's a very long story and a big deal. And that's where shit really propelled, because, you know, then there was no turning back once everybody knew what I was doing. And we had already, we got very, very wealthy off that very quick. I mean, I didn't need to be working, but I never looked at it as something permanent. You know, I always looked at it as like, this is crazy money, but this shit ain't gonna last forever. And I didn't really understand the business aspect of it then. And so but once I lost my job, it became priority. It was like, okay, now we're porn stars. That's what we're doing. And it became like a business. And, you know, obviously I've always had very entrepreneurial mind. And so that, you know, worked out well for me. But yeah, it's really wild how it happened. I mean, I always tell people I truly was a hockey mom in the suburbs, and the pandemic, I'm telling you, the pandemic, people were wilding out. I mean,
wilding out
in 5 years,
crazy times. And, you know, whatever, it worked out for me, but yeah, it's wild. I still sometimes wake up and think, this is nuts. Like, where the hell is my life right now?
Well, it happened so quickly. That's what's crazy about that story too, right? It's like you jumped on both of you and your husband jumped on that opportunity. And I'd imagine that mindset too. You're like, maybe when the world gets back to normal, things will level out a little bit. I'm sure you have a loyal fan base now and everything like that. And again, that fucking sucks about, what happened working in the hospitals and stuff, because again, it is your private but semi not private because it's on the internet, but behind a paywall, you should have every right to create content how you see fit. I guess from a PR standpoint, people just aren't living the online life yet and don't really understand, that's a thing that people do, and it's a huge revenue stream. But yeah, that's just crazy that it happened so fast. Like I didn't even realize that like you guys started, I guess, in that industry now just a few years ago.
Oh yeah, just during the pandemic it was, and that's the problem too. I think a lot of people like to judge, but it's like, all right, you're right. If this was like, oh, we made $600 this month, which is still great money because that pays a car note or half of a mortgage or whatever it may be, would have been really cool. But I mean, we're talking, I got up to like 50,000 a month very quickly. And it's like, people judge. I'm like, do not, like, you have no clue what that feels like to come into that kind of money when you're a nurse, and my husband's worked for the airlines and you're basically paycheck to paycheck. Like, this is like, it's a bigger decision than just, oh, that's bad, I can't do that. It's like, oh, I can't have 50K. I mean,
yeah. And like you said, for you, it was like fun, liberating. It's not like you're just hopping on trends and doing like shitty trend content. Like it's out there. It's, for lack of a better word, exciting. My question is, like once you guys realize, okay, this has to become a job now, like this is the revenue income. It's not something on the side that's making us a lot of money and we're having fun doing it. Like, is that when you guys change things up business wise, as far as like doing more things like different YouTube channels, streams? Did you guys hire a new production team? Did that production team, are they working on some of your other stuff as well? Like your beer content and stuff like that? What happened when you realized, okay, this is the income stream and we're going all in?
So we don't have anyone that films us. We want it to be very candid, non-produced. So it's still literally an iPhone in the corner. I mean, we have a nicer camera that we put up ourselves, what have you, but it's not, we don't have anyone that films us sexually for OnlyFans content. I do everything myself. But when that shift happened, I think I realized, it's a business now and this is a matter of marketing. And I think there's a part of us that's quite realistic that there's 1,000,001 boobs online. Like, let's be real. You can get free porn. This is people's biggest argument is, oh, porn's free. Why do people pay for this? Because they're not paying for the porn. They're paying for the person, the experience, the personality. Maybe they love that I love hockey. Maybe they love that I love beer. Whatever that connection is, it's no different than you having a favorite sports player. It's just someone you like that person. Yeah. And so we realized, like, I can't survive off this just posting nudes like this. I have to show people who I am. And that's very hard for a lot of people in this industry to do and be vulnerable and do that because you are putting yourself out there. But that's why I started just, say, oh, okay, I love beer. I love hockey. I just started being myself online and I actually stopped promoting that I had it. I felt like enough people know I have my page. They know where to click. They know how to find it. I don't need to be like every day, subscribe to me. And I felt like I would see that in other creators. I'm like, that's just tacky and it wasn't my vibe. And so for me, we just clicked with that. And I actually have a video on my OnlyFans from probably week 4 where I wrote and I was like, I don't know why you're here. I was like, I hope you love everything. I'm just going to be me. If you love it, you love it. If not, you don't subscribe. I get it. And I have stayed true to that every time. Like, I'm just literally giving my life. And I think that's when, for us, that's the business behind it. And that's my business model, is to be myself in other avenues and don't always promote it. It can't be first. You know what I mean? It has to be kind of like second. Yeah. Otherwise it looks desperate.
Well, and it's crazy to me though, because you're like such a more magnified and like polarizing version of myself. Like, there's maybe 2 people I work with that know that I do this podcast because I'm worried, like, I don't want my reputation, like, with like, there are some episodes that we drink more than others. Like, we get a little tuned up and there's swearing and we're pretty like fast and loose with what we do. And like, for you, it's just on a totally different level. Like, you're a nurse, you're like doing content, like you said, that like is gonna drive in more criticism. But
a mom, the mother stuff I always get.
that was what I was going to get into, though. That's like, obviously we saw what happened professionally, and it's, I mean, obviously worked out. Like you've really done a great job of growing what you do. What was it like, though, from a family perspective? Like, you've got older sons, they've got girlfriends. Like, what's that dynamic look like when you take this like full pivot into, this is my profession?
Well, that was very nerve-wracking. I remember the day that things were starting to get out, and I, looked at my husband. I thought, our boys, well, they're 21, 19, and 13, but it's like they were at that point 17, 18, 19, whatever. And it was kind of like, they follow Barstool, they follow they follow this stuff. Like, what is it going to be like when they see mom come across? I mean, even if they would have seen me like in a hockey jersey, but even just seeing mom as an influencer online would have been like, what the fuck? Like, she's a nurse. What's happening here? So, we decided, and we had to act quick, to talk to the two older boys. We took them to dinner, and we kind of just like a couple shots back, and my husband and I looked at each other. I'm like, I ain't starting this conversation. We were fucking nervous. And
no, I imagine.
Oh yeah. And I was like, so, I've been doing a little bit of modeling, and I'm like trying to make it,
like tiptoeing around it.
I'm like, and I wanted to branch a little bit, that maybe some of it may have been racy, because I wanted to let them know. I wanted to get it off our chest, so that everybody was on the same page. So I'd say, like, I'm modeling lingerie for Rihanna now, because at that time I had a partnership with with Savage X. And literally our middle son, as he's eating his fucking, burger, he's like, are you guys on OnlyFans? And we're just looking at each other, and we're like, first thing I thought was, thank God he knew what OnlyFans was, because that was the other problem, right? It's like, okay, then you finally tell your kids, hey, we're on OnlyFans. But then they're like, well, what's that?
Then you have to be like, okay, explain what that, yeah.
Well, this will be fun. But he knew, and he's like, yeah, I fucking knew it. He's like, I mean, Mom. He's like, the money. He goes, we got Christmas this year was out of control. He was like, he knew.
Smart kid.
Like,
Smart
he
kid.
was like, the vacations. He's like, come on, we ain't stupid. And so me and my husband kind of laughed. We all took a drink. And the boys at that time, they're like, you know what, honestly, I said, look, it's only with your dad. I'm not doing things with other people. And that was a big concern of mine. I didn't want them to think like I was cheating on their dad or hiding it from their dad or something weird, because we do this together. And they were like, it is what it is. Y'all are, you know what? I respect your decision to do what you're going to do. And they were totally fine. They were just like, it is what it is. They kind of laughed about it. We all finished our meal, and it actually made life a lot easier with them. And then not literally 2 days later, Barstool ran a huge feature, and my son's in the car, and he gets his Snap story, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm like, oh. I was like, I'm so glad we told them, because see, that would have been our biggest fear.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, you told me you were going to do this, but like, really, like this quick, like this pops up on my feed immediately. But it's so like, oh, I mean, you're gonna buy me Frozen Four tickets. You're gonna get me a car. Like, okay, I approve.
Yeah, but then the youngest, he knows that I'm Allie Rae. He knows that I'm a TikToker and influencer, but he doesn't understand the full extent of what's going on. And that conversation is approaching quickly. Like I've actually brought it up multiple times this month. Like, he's getting older. He's almost 14. Like, this is we're going to have to figure it out. And it just sucks. It's not going to be easy, but it is what it is. And I think we want to promote, like, that we have a great marriage. We're secure enough in our marriage to do this. This is not for everyone. Not a lot of marriages could handle this type of thing. And that, we're just sharing this part of our life. And it is weird, and I can't make it normal, but it is what it is. And I think they love us enough to be like, you guys do you. And because we support them in everything they want. So fingers crossed on that conversation. But it's one I'm dreading, but it is what it is. We're very content with where we're at. All of our family knows now. I had to with the Dr. Phil episode. I knew a lot of like that older generation, like our parents and their friends would see it. And that was probably the biggest. Okay, everybody knows, that felt good. So
yeah, so it's not that big secret anymore, and even more liberating now, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. And not everybody, we've lost friends, but this is life, right? And we're doing well, and this is what we're going to do. And our marriage is great. Our kids are happy. Everybody's happy. Like, there's nothing changed in our household. So for us, it's not that big of a deal, but the judgment is there 100%.
Yeah. 2023, crazy times, guys. Crazy times, guys. Who knew that like this would be your guys's? Well, I mean, maybe not end game right now, but like this would be your guys's business, right?
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, but now, like I just said, the boys are going to the Gopher game. We're excited. We're happy about that. We're going to, we're doing our thing and we're being smart, but we're having fun too. And yeah.
So back to your YouTube channel, what are some of your favorite, and like on the beer stuff, and we can talk about your streaming stuff as well, but what's your favorite type of content to produce? Do you like just the reviews? Do you like the vlog reviews, like going to the festivals and things like that? Or do you like the streams and clipping up that kind of stuff for your other YouTube channel, the Allie Rae? What's your favorite type of content to produce outside of the OnlyFans?
I feel like there's so many, like there's two different sides to me, you know what I mean? Two different parts to my brand. Sometimes it's very like my sexual side, and then it's obviously more like my fun, loving, like I'm your best friend side. And so I love both. They're obviously both fun, especially my sexual side's a lot of fun. That's really cool to get paid to do. But I do love the reviews. I love highlighting, honestly, the craft breweries. And I'm kind of sad for craft beer for what happened during the pandemic and how much momentum they had gained prior to that. And then the pandemic came and a lot of breweries suffered, like a lot, because they didn't have their rooms weren't open and stuff. So the tap rooms. And so I really am glad to be able to try to get people excited about that. And I've converted a lot of people. A lot of people say they never had tried craft beer, and now they do. So I really enjoy that. I do love the festivals, mainly because I get to meet so many people and I get to try so many different beers outside my local area. Because a lot of those festivals, they have people from everywhere. And that to me is so cool. And building those relationships is really cool. I think it's a little hard being a female in this space. There's a lot of women now that are into craft beer, but as far as me trying to pioneer a channel like that, it's definitely not easy. I don't know if people necessarily took me serious in the beginning. I think a lot of people thought, oh, she's got an OnlyFans. She's just trying to promote her OnlyFans. Like, no, I actually know my shit. Like, I actually know a lot about craft beer, and I've always loved craft beer. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but I love it. It's so much fun. And I go to all the breweries locally. I'm always there. But yeah, I would say definitely I like all of it.
No, well, for someone who I work in YouTube consulting and things like that, like your channel checks every single box, thumbnail wise, being colorful, obviously, like you being an OnlyFans star probably honestly helps as far as getting everyone's attention to and click-through rate and things like that. And you said that your stuff actually does really good on Facebook and other platforms. Like, it's just YouTube just hates beer and is not right now in their evolution, because it changes all the time. Like, alcohol, for whatever reason, and we see it on our channel, we post literally just raw podcast clips that will get 500 to 1,000 views first day. But anything we do with craft breweries, beer tours, beers, takes like a few days to even get up to like the 100 views, then up from there. And like, I had the name of the channel synced up here, but I must have closed the tab on my phone. But there's an example there's this one woman content creator who very provocative profile pictures of her in the woods and things like that, but pretty much half naked. And it's an ASMR camping YouTube channel, but very much she's the star of the show, very good looking. That's not quite nude because it's YouTube, but that's what draws people in, and hundreds of thousands of views, millions of subscribers. And what I thought right away when again we put the dots together that you were coming on the channel, and I was like, oh my god, that this is the Allie Rae who does this YouTube channel. I was like, that's so interesting that even though you said you've kind of separated both of the things, that the beer side of things doesn't kick off, but ASMR camping with an equally beautiful woman doesn't either. So it's just interesting how YouTube works. But back to you separating your content. That's interesting you say that, because one of my questions was it the game plan business wise to just be on every platform, whether it's your streaming content with the Allie Rae, whether it's the beer stuff, whether it's your Instagram, OnlyFans, whatever. Is it positive for your business to be everywhere, or are you really trying to make that separation of this is one side of the business, this is the sexual side of the business?
No, it's amazing to be everywhere. I mean, that's marketing right there. And if there's a platform I'm not on, at least don't have a profile on with at least a couple posts, I'd want to know about it. I am everywhere, and I literally mean that. I definitely, the name of the game for my business is views and exposure. And so the more places I am, the better. I really struggled with Tap That because I really wanted people to take me seriously. And it kind of sucked that I did have this side, which of course it's a male audience and I'm probably getting subscribers off some of that. That's fine. But that was never my intention, like not my ultimate goal. I wanted to be taken seriously and I really wanted to build that brand. And so part of me in the beginning, some of my thumbnails you'll see, didn't really put a lot of bikini on it. I tried to really like tone it down for the female audience. And it still struggled and it is what it is. But I wanted to separate it because I didn't want people to not be able to work with me on the beer side because I have this OF. So I do actually have 2 separate LLCs, 2 separate trademarks, I mean, everything is separate technically, but it's unfortunate. My story is so big with the Allie Rae side that anyone that does a simple Google is going to know what I do and where the bulk of my income comes from. So that's kind of like kind of a bummer for me in that way. And that's why, being on OFTV is nice. They've really embraced it, obviously, because they're OF and I'm already a part of that. And that's a really good audience. But I think trying to build that craft beer, I don't know that people will ever fully take me seriously, but I do believe in consistency. And I think, a year or 2 from now, when people look back and be like, all right, this chick is still making reviews. She is still loving this. Like, she's not kidding about this. Like, I'm legit about it. And so that's been my biggest hurdle. But yeah, separating them in the beginning was something I really focused on. But now I'm kind of trying to just own it. I think at some point people are just going to get over it. People have OnlyFans. I mean, everybody has an OnlyFans. I mean, literally all these people have OnlyFans now. And some people may not even be doing like explicit stuff. So
we're the only 2 who don't right now, to be perfectly honest. I think even the 10K guys do as well. No, and you said there too, like, funny enough, out of all the professional sports that jumped on it, it was MMA. Like MMA and bare knuckle boxing. Like OnlyFans is one of the biggest sponsors for BKFC, which is the biggest bare knuckle boxing promotion in the United States. Various fighters now, even in the UFC, have been given exclusive contracts with OnlyFans not to do anything sexual. And some of them do like teetering the line stuff, and it's hilarious because it's just like it's an extra layer to their brand where they're like pretty, lack of a better term, boring on the mic, like prepping their fights. But now a lot of them, it's just like training videos that we sell through the platform. So like you said, it's just like a paywall app that we use, and OnlyFans gave us a chunk of startup money to do it on like a 3-year deal with that platform exclusively. So like there's going to be stuff that you post here that's under a paywall and stuff that's aren't under whatever contract they have that you just won't post to Instagram, Twitter, and anything else that you own. And I found that fascinating that, like, no joke, like I'd say like a good like 10% of the UFC roster has been given OnlyFans contracts, and that they're one of the biggest sponsors in regional fight promotion. So like you said it there, like it started with like, okay, there's less rules on this app. So obviously the porn industry, the sexual content creators, it's the easiest, safest, and most lucrative spot. But now I feel like they're making a big push, especially with OnlyFans TV that you brought up, to just content creation all around. Like
they really do want to rebrand, and that's going to be a real freaking hard rebrand, because once you're known for that, I mean, that's like Pornhub trying to change. They are known for that, but they want to go public. And I understand from a business perspective. And I think their end goal is to try to rebrand into more of that content creator like that Patreon style, but obviously on a much different level. And that's, part of the reason why I created WetSpace is I don't see the long term in this. I think it'll be harder for adult creators, because it's hard to go public when you have that type of content and get investors and things like that. So that's where their struggle is. They're just so big now. That's their only option. And that's what scared me as a creator. And like I said, why I created WetSpace. But you're absolutely correct. They are really, the more they push and pay those fighters and switch the shift of type of content that's on their platform, they're going to try to rub away at that. Well,
they'll just get a bunch of users. Cause then like, for example, like Hoppy and I don't have accounts. Well, maybe now like we create accounts, they get more users because we want to follow X influencer. Maybe it's not even on, like I said, not even in the porn or sexual side of things.
Actually shocked that you don't have an account to follow just MMA, Isha.
I mean, when Charles Oliveira got an account, I almost did, because I mean, he's one of the best fighters ever, and he's a fucking beautiful man. So there you go. I said it. Look, we weren't even being cheeky when we were saying that you're an entrepreneur, and you beat us to it there. Like, tell us about your company, WetSpace.
Yeah, so WetSpace is very similar to an OnlyFans. It's an adult subscription platform. What's unique about us is that one of the problems that adult creators face is the banking industry kind of regulates the type of content that we can put out, what extent you can put out. And so that became a big problem about 1.5 years ago, where OnlyFans actually got to a point where they had to ban they were going to ban adult content, which obviously all of us were like, what? You know, it was a big issue. And so it scared me, and I had the means and the connections and the people where I was like, oh no, I'm not relying on one platform for my, you know, for my business. You guys can do what you want, but I'm not. And so I created WetSpace because WetSpace also accepts cryptocurrency. So we accept not just Visa, MasterCard, but if they were to ever say, no, that's fine. We accept ETH, AVAC, you know, we accept BUSD, USD Tether. We accept multiple cryptocurrencies, and that they can't tap into. So for us, it was a security blanket of having a platform for creators, not just adult. We've actually got some sports gamblers on there, things like that other industries that have been kind of, you know, shunned against or what have you, or that have been prohibited, that we actually have a lot of them on the platform. So we're trying to create something that doesn't rely completely on the banks. And we've done amazing. And next month will be a year since we launched.
Nice.
Yeah, we have a lot of creators, and it's going really well. And so that was the extent of why we started WetSpace. So I still have an OnlyFans, absolutely. And of course, I run my WetSpace as well. But I think in the end, creators would be crazy not to have a backup, because they gave us a 30-day notice last time. And like, that's harsh. That's quick. So you just want to be prepared just in case.
That's where the craft beer creators will go eventually, when YouTube doesn't fucking start pushing our shit, Allie.
You're going to come to Wednesday. I'd be so sick. Like, you start as an adult platform. You're like, oh, fuck it. We'll take the beer people. We'll take the gamblers. We'll take all you misfits.
There you go. No, seriously. That might be the future, especially with a lot of people. There's a lot of different platforms now that people are moving to, Rumble being one of them because of YouTube's rules. So
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Clapper's another good one. I have Clapper too. It's a lot of stuff.
Can't say I'm familiar with that one, to be honest, but
I know it sounds bad now that I say it like that. I'm like, no, it's literally like it's just like a Twitter or a TikTok.
Okay.
That's hilarious though. I'm like, Clapper, it sounds naughty, but it's not naughty.
Holy shit.
Oh, man.
Well, before we close things out here and let you, of course, promote anything you want to, because like you said, you're everywhere. We got to ask though, from the local and from, as we learned, beer connoisseur, for those that are coming in, whether it's for the Frozen Four or any time of the year, because, well, Minnesotans, they want to get out of the cold.
Yes.
Right.
What are your top recommendations for breweries that have to be hit? Whether it's for the beer, whether it's for the environment or the taproom vibe, like, what are your top recommendations?
So I love Florida Ave. They are a little bit north in Wesley Chapel, which is probably not very convenient for travelers. But Green Bench Brewing is great. They are in St. Pete. I would advise people. I know it's like you're going to Tampa, but it's like Twin Cities, right? They're like 10 minutes apart.
Joe Smith said the same thing.
St. Pete is amazing. The pier is beautiful. Green Bench Brewing is down here. They're really, really good. We love that. Three Daughters Brewing on Clearwater Beach. They have above the Hooters. It overlooks Clearwater Beach. It's freaking amazing. Not a lot like to do there. It's just like, but the view is gorgeous. But yeah, there's a lot of really, really good beer here. And we've been to so many of them. I can't even, definitely Green Bench. Green Benches makes especially if you're saying you're like a hazy guy, you'd love that for sure. But in Tampa, right around the arena, there's a bar called American Social that's very popular. And there's a couple other right there. Lots of great hotels. It's really walkable right there on the Riverwalk. It'll be really nice. You're going to love the weather if you're coming. I don't know if you're coming.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. We got a hotel that's like 2 blocks away from the rink, like 3 blocks away from Hatch.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, we have to connect and meet up and have a beer. That would be sick. At the game, there's a Cigar City actually has their brewery. It's like their side brewery or whatever right at the arena. So I imagine they'll have it open. You'll get to try all their beers. So you gotta meet there. It's like literally attached almost to the arena. It's in like the pavilion area there. So we should meet and have a beer and stuff. And you get to try a couple of theirs because you got to try like Fancy Pay. You got to try Florida Man. You got to have Florida Man.
I have to try Florida Man. Yes.
You got to have Florida Man. Yeah.
Love it. Yes. Done.
So it should be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
No, this has been amazing. Hoppy's going. I'm unfortunate. I have to go back to Canada to do my taxes.
Have you even scheduled that yet? Is that even on the books?
I mean, it's on the books, but it's happening. It's happening. I think the deadline's in a few days, so it's happening. It's happening.
It sounds like you just got to get to Tampa.
No, I'm too tempted. Stop, guys. Stop. No, Allie, this has been so much fun. Again, so awesome that like you're a craft beer connoisseur. You're you're a hockey fan, and you hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. You speak our language. So first of many collaborations, I hope down the road you and Hoppy connect in Florida. And yeah, anytime you want to jump on the podcast, anytime you want to talk hockey, beer, collaboration on YouTube, whatever it is, happy to do so. Before we let you go, pump away anything that you want to promote here on the podcast, on our YouTube channel. The floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely. You can find me everywhere at onlyallieray.com. That has links to all my socials, but definitely check out my show, Tap That. If you love craft beer and you like to see different beers from all around the country, you'll love that. And then, yeah, definitely if you're a creator, you want to check out WetSpace or you want to learn more, just contact me. But all my links and all my socials are at onlyallieray.com. So it's very easy to find me just about anywhere. Like I said, I am literally everywhere.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it again, Allie. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.